Alrighty, guys, welcome into the After Schrock. Glad you could join us today. I'm going to give everybody a couple seconds to get connected here before we kind of go full bore here. There's a lot to cover, and I have a very limited amount of time today, so I'm going to try to not talk too fast because when I'm in a time crunch, I tend to talk really fast so that I can get my point across as quickly as possible, not realizing that nobody can understand a word that I'm saying because I'm talking too fast. It doesn't do any good to talk fast if people don't understand what you're saying. Lessons learned. All right, so 32 of you are here so far, so we're getting everybody in. Welcome aboard, everybody. Good to see you, Mitch. Glad you're here. All right. So, if you have been living under a rock and you don't know what's going on with this GameStop thing, I'm going to tell you what's going on. I've been reading the Reddit thread about GameStop for the last week. So I was not in a month, 2 months ago when this whole thing got started. But I can tell you what's going on, what the feeling of the group is right now. And maybe that gives us some insight into what's going to happen next. But there was some truly, truly bizarro stuff that happened on Wall Street last week. Like class action lawsuit bizarro stuff. So anyway, what's going on? So we're all stock traders here, right? You know, I can't tell you, I'm not a stock trader. I don't, I've never bought an option in my life. I've never bought a call or a put or whatever. I've done a couple market limit orders, market orders and limit orders. It's not the world that I'm in. And maybe someday I'll get into that world when I have more time on my hands. Right now I'm kind of busy fixing people's computers. But you can buy a stock. You can buy a share of GameStop, which was, GameStop is the video game and console place. Before video games were all digital, before they were all online, that's where you'd go to buy video games. And so now that everything is online and people buy their consoles directly from Microsoft or Sony or whatever, or they get them shipped to their house, what do you need GameStop for? So this is kind of, the company is going the way of Blockbuster, okay? It's a legacy dinosaur company that is a zombie company that's been propped up by cheap money that really has no business being in business. They don't serve a real need unless you need a used controller or something. So with that said, and I guess maybe that might be a little strong. GameStop, they are on the cutting edge of a lot of gaming stuff. The challenge is what you get at GameStop you can get online anywhere else. But it's just nicely packaged at GameStop, and there's a value to that. Now, there's a value to that, and that's why their stock was trading at like $3, $5, $10 a share or something like that. Well, then what ended up happening is Wall Street hedge funds came in, and they bought short positions on the stock. And through the miracles of stock buying, they managed to buy 140% of the available stock short. So what does that mean in English? If I have 100 shares of stock in a company, in theory, logic would tell me if I'm betting that it will go down, I can only bet that 100 shares of the company will go down because only 100 shares exist. But because this is Wall Street, that's not how the world works. Nothing is logical. What I can do at Wall Street level is I can buy as many short options as I want. So what ended up happening is these hedge funds basically had bought 140% of the available stock and said it's going to go down because GameStop is a dying company. Everyone is a consensus agreement it's going to go down. This is like the safest bet anywhere in the world. In fact, this bet is so safe that we can run a naked short. Now that sounds dirty, but what it means is you're running a position, you're short on GameStop, and if something goes sideways, you don't have any insurance. This is like driving without insurance, basically. Chances are nothing's going to go wrong, but if something does go wrong, it's going to go wrong in a mega big way. And so, some guys on Reddit noticed that GameStop, a company that they are familiar with, following the Buffett rule, only invest in what you know. These kids are sitting at home, they're locked down during a pandemic. They have their little stimulus checks that came in. They have money in their bank accounts. They are bored. They have reached the end of Netflix. They've seen the end of the internet. They've been there. They've done that. What to do now? Well, let's make the market a game, right? So they decide they're going to buy GameStop. And so they buy some GameStop shares. And that's how this all started, okay? It wasn't a short squeeze from the get-go. But then, in the process of trying to get everyone around them to also buy GameStop so that the stock would go up so they could make money, they realized that in their research that GameStop has a 140% short. So here's what happens. When you're betting short, that means the price of the stock is going to go, you think it's going to go down. So you're betting that it's going to go down. If the price of the stock goes up, you have to cover the short. You have to, a short is a contract. So you're saying, if the price goes down, basically, I get to buy the stock at a lower price. And if the price goes up, I have to buy the stock at a higher price, whatever that market price might be. So they're betting, everybody bet it's going to go down. But instead, these kids are pumping the stock price up, and that's causing the hedge funds to have to purchase more GameStop shares at an even higher price, which reduces the number of shares in circulation, which causes the price to go higher. So as this started happening, the stock rocketed up to almost $500 a share. And now the entire world is in on this thing. Like every country on the planet is talking about GameStop. Literally, guys, they were running billboards on the side of the road. Kids that made so much freaking money buying GameStop and selling it and doing everything they're doing are buying billboards saying, and they just say, "I like the stock, GME." If you see that, and there's like a picture of a baby in a suit, if you see that, that's GameStop money. People are flying banners from airplanes over Robinhood's headquarters. We'll get to that in a second. With words on them that I can't say on the radio or even on Facebook, I think. These are pretty bad words. So what's going on? All of these kids got together, and they're not just kids anymore. These are professional investors, day traders. They've all gotten together, and they've all figured out if we all together as a group. Now, I have to be careful here because they are very quick to point out they are not a group. It's not a hive mind. There's not a leader saying, yeah, rah, rah, let's go. And the media is painting this one guy like he was the guy that started the whole thing. He didn't start the short squeeze. He just pointed out the short squeeze was possible and how much money people could make if they were actually able to do it. The rest of it was history after that. So, because let me step you through the basics on this. If these guys buy all of the available shares of GameStop or a large number of them and refuse to sell at any price, they are literally going to hold. They call it diamond hands. They're not paper hands. They got diamond hands. They're not letting the stock go. One guy even had a stock certificate sent to him, and he framed it and put it on his wall to show I'm not going to sell that stock because it's the certificate and it's on my wall. I'm not going to sell it. So these guys are not going to sell. Some of them are hardcore never going to sell because they believe that they can make this into the next Tesla. They believe that what ends up happening is if there's no shares available, the hedge funds have to cover. Friday was the first deadline to settle out these options, the first round of them. The stock went from 140% shorted to like 113% still. And they had like 6 days to cover the shorts. It's not like they had to do it on Friday. But what ended up happening is so many of these kids were buying GameStop stock that the hedge funds were losing literally billions of dollars an hour. And it was challenging the liquidity, not only of the hedge funds, but people were using options on trading platforms like Robinhood, and Robinhood didn't have enough capital, and it was getting out of hand. It was crazy. So all of a sudden, certain brokerages told retail investors, you can't buy GameStop stock. Literally, your buy button is disabled. You can close your position, you can sell, but you can't buy. And what that had the immediate impact on was the price started coming down because there's no buy orders, right? Well, who was buying? Hedge funds. They were closing their short positions at a lower price because the price was coming down. There was a lot of internal market mechanics of why this happened. I don't believe it was an evil men in suits kind of thing. I think there was actually it was regulation, it was government regulation that caused this to happen. And as a result now, Robinhood's done. Like everyone's done with Robinhood. Robinhood is restricting withdrawals now. They're telling you can't pull your crypto. They're telling you can't, you want to leave, it takes 3 or 4 business days to leave. Literally, there is the distinct possibility. Now, this is what I'm reading online. I don't have an inside bead of knowledge here, but there is the possibility that Robinhood could go under next week. And most people don't care because you don't have a Robinhood account. But if Robinhood goes under, Did you know that if your brokerage goes under, your accounts are secured, they're insured, kind of like FDIC. It's called SIPC insurance for $250,000, and that's it. So some of these kids are multimillionaires now. If Robinhood goes under, they lose all their money. It's gone. And it takes 3 or 4 days to move out of Robinhood. So if Robinhood goes under on Monday or Tuesday, all their money is gone and the short squeeze is over. So everyone's moving to Fidelity right now. So if you're on the Fidelity trading platform, be prepared for some, I mean, you have a lot of incoming people coming into Fidelity right now. Because now they're saying, okay, we're sorry, Robinhood users, stay with us. We'll let you buy it starting again on Friday, which is what they did. But you could buy and hold 1 share, no options. Meanwhile, the hedge fund guys could do anything they wanted, but the retail guys were restricted. Now, TD Ameritrade also restricted options trading, but they didn't restrict your ability to take your own money and go buy a stock. I mean, that's what they're there to do, right? So anyway, this almost dominoed the entire stock market financial system. If Robinhood goes down, lots of people loaned money to Robinhood. If the short squeeze continues, Melvin Capital could go bankrupt unless they get additional capital. Now, Melvin is saying publicly they've closed all their short positions, but why would you pay for ads on cable networks saying we've closed our short positions? But when any idiot can look at the volume of trades and see there is no way you closed your short positions because there's no volume. We can't see who's buying and selling, but we can see that there's buying and selling activity and there's no volume because all the GameStop kids, they're holding their GameStop. They're not selling. So people are either buying it and they're just waiting. They're waiting because they know these hedge funds are going to have to purchase the stock at a much, much more expensive price later. Target price that these kids are looking at. Now, these are, again, there's no hive mind, right? It's not like there's a direction. When it gets to this price, sell. And there are people who are going to sell and they're going to buy. These kids say, we're holding forever. They're not idiots, too. This was Wall Street Bets. This was a place where you went to get financial advice. And this is like a one-time thing, guys. This is not what they do at the Wall Street Bets Reddit place. This is not what they're built on. This was an anomaly, basically, that kind of came up from there, and they went from a few 100,000 users there to 7 million users now. So if you think this is going away on Monday, it's not. So here's the crux of what I'm saying. If Melvin Capital goes under, there's a lot of other places like Citadel that have loaned Melvin Capital tons of money. If Citadel doesn't get that money, basically you're talking about a domino chain reaction. If the options don't settle, then we have another problem. Literally, the Fed might have to get involved here and make everybody whole. I mean, it's a mess. Now, it's a mess, and I'm not saying it's a mess that has been caused by these kids doing a short squeeze. That is what has exposed the flaw in the system. But after 2008, everything went to clearinghouses. And what's happening with GameStop is enough money. We're talking about like mind-bogglingly numbers of billions of dollars. It's enough money that it could crash the clearinghouse. And then nothing settles in the entire market. And you have a 2008 style meltdown or a pandemic style meltdown. So the short squeeze is going to continue. I bought some GameStop. If every one of the people that in this Reddit group own 12 shares of GameStop, they own the entire company. That's how many people are involved in this. And more people are arriving every day because they want to get in on this, because these kids are saying they're not going to sell until the price goes to $1,000 or $10,000 a share. And the problem is the hedge funds are required to buy. They must buy at whatever the price is. If the price is $10,000 a share and you bought 1,000 shares at $10 a share, good day for you, right? So are some people going to sell at, 500? Sure. Are some people going to sell at 900? Sure. Are more people going to see people buying at 300 and selling at 500 and saying, I want a piece of that, so they're going to wait for the $400 dip and buy in and watch it go to 1,000? This is exactly what happened with Tesla. Exactly the same thing, except Tesla actually makes something. So here's the thing, guys. In your market accounts this week, This is going to have broader market implications. So you can't just say I don't screw around with that GameStop short squeeze crap. I'm not going to mess with that. I buy my Apple. Yeah, I had 10 shares of Apple too, guys, and I lost my shirt on it in the last 3 days. Did Apple do anything wrong? No, they had a blockbuster, record-breaking financial report. Why did I lose money? Because these other places are selling their assets to raise money to buy GameStop. That's what they're calling it, GameStop, because they have to cover. They have to cover the short. They have to buy at any price. So do they want to? They know these guys aren't gonna. They aren't gonna sell. So maybe we need to buy some GameStop ourselves as Melvin Capital and have the actual stock. We could buy it now at 300, which is painful, but it's sure less painful than buying it at 1,000. So I would expect this week. And again, I am not a financial advisor. I am not a stockbroker. You're taking advice from a computer guy. And if you take your advice from your computer repairman, you deserve the advice you get. Okay? All that said and done, if the short squeeze is successful, if these guys are able to do what they did with Tesla, and it's not something that's going to be over in a week. We're talking a week, a month, 6 months. I mean, this can literally, it could go on to infinity. It could literally bankrupt hedge funds. It could literally bankrupt clearinghouses. If any of those things happen, if Robinhood goes under, Robinhood will be the first domino to fall. If you see Robinhood go under, run for the exits. Just my personal, that's what, I ran for the exits on Friday with my retirement account. Everything, let's go back into bonds. It's people will tell me it's a stupid trade, but you know, if they think the market is going to sell off 20%, 30%, and then I can jump back out again. If I go in first, then everyone will be going in when I'm jumping out, and that's the way I like to live. So anyway, if you are a day trader, might not hurt to have a share of this, or there are several other companies. You can do your own homework on it. But bottom line, guys, we are in for a rough ride, and I know a lot of us are at or near retirement age, or thinking about retiring at some point in the not so distant future. It's sure 2008 was not a fun event. And when I'm reading articles, now some people call this FUD, like basically it's an article designed to scare people, fear, uncertainty, all that stuff. When Goldman is writing reports that the entire market could crash over this, Goldman's not usually right about anything, but when they're writing articles about that, it makes you stop and think, like, what's my worst case scenario here? I don't think you're going to miss a big upswing this week. I don't think the market's going to suddenly recover 600 points on Monday morning. I think it's going to go down some more. So worst case scenario, you miss out on some gains, right? Maybe if you're smarter than me, there are financial instruments to allow you to play this to your heart's content. I'm not a stockbroker. I've never bought an option in my life. I don't know any of that stuff. All I can look at this and see is there's a storm coming, so be prepared for it and however you feel you're best prepared. All right, I'm already way late, so I'm just going to scroll through these comments real quick. I'm going to go straight to the bottom. I think the little guy's going to lose confidence in Wall Street. The markets protect the big guy. That is true. One of the things that's been bantered about is that this is Occupy Wall Street people, that this is some kind of movement that is little guy versus big guy, populist versus hedge fund. Maybe that's what it's become in the mainstream media. That is not why these guys are doing this. When you listen to them talk, some people are there doing that because of this. Other people are taking advantage of this for their own movement purposes. But the guys that were originally there, they're there to make money. That's what Wall Street Bets is for. That's the whole thing. They're like, let's talk about how we can make money in the stock market. They're going to sell at some point. But they're going to sell. But what they have right now is they have the entire financial system back to a wall. And they're like, well, money solves the problem. You just got to give us enough money to solve the problem. How much is enough? I don't know. Different for everybody. All right. By the time we find out, it's already too late to jump in. That's what I'm saying, Keith. I have to be really careful here because I've already disclosed that I do hold one share of GameStop. I will hold many more shares on Monday. This is going to be like Tesla, I think. And yes, I have no intent on holding forever. But I will keep diamond hands until the short squeeze is near completion here, because yeah, there's money to be made. Now the challenge you have is other people who are not paying attention to this, or the people who are like, my financial advisor told me that I should just dollar cost average and put my money in and put in the same amount every month and ride these things are all temporary. They're all temporary until you're ready to retire. And they would freely tell you that you should adjust your risk reward ratio as you get closer to retirement. The problem is there is no reward for normal risk right now. You have to be in stock to get a return on your investment. You can't put it in a bond. You can't put it in a savings account. You don't get any returns. It doesn't even counter inflation. So everybody's at high risk right now. I'm saying just for the next couple weeks, you might want to back off the risk a little bit. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, I'm in trouble. 15 minutes is up. Sounds like the feds get involved, and those holding shares could lose out. No free lunch. The feds are going to get involved, but have you forgotten who the president is? Have you forgotten who Elizabeth Warren is? When Ted Cruz and AOC agree on something, they're all agreeing that it was wrong for Wall Street to lock out the little guy. They're all agreeing that it was wrong to bail out the hedge funds at the expense of the little guy. The government's going to get involved, but they're not going to stop it. They're going to let everybody know that it's going to get worse, because that's where the public sentiment is. Populism is alive and well, guys, and politicians understand that. Alrighty, let's see real quick. One of us is always on time. Guess who? Yeah, 15 minutes is up. I know I'm leaving. All right, 15 minutes is up. I went 21 minutes. Okay, 22 by the time I'm done here. So thank you for listening, guys. The reason I wanted to do this today was because I know we service primarily a 40-plus demographic. I'm 40-plus. And I know that, we're all concerned about the future, and we're all concerned about retirement and making sure that, we have plenty of money to live, once we're done working. We're all concerned about the way the world works one way or the other right now, and how things seem to be out of whack in some or many respects. Nobody really warns normal people what's going on here. I've heard all kinds of news stories about how literally the news media. Okay, there was the guy that started the Wall Street Bets thing, way back in the day. It was a pump and dump. He created the group, got a bunch of people in it, pumped up a stock, and then sold all of his. And he got caught by the group using them to make a profit specifically for himself. And they kicked him out, like years ago. Now he's the guy that they're putting on the news. The media's stupid. People are literally making memes up about this guy in the Reddit. If you just go look, you can see that this guy is like, I don't even know his name. I wasn't even involved back then. But, okay, I can see, looking at this, that guy is considered by the group, the group think, if you will, to be an epic tool. Okay? A wanker. He's not a good guy. But he's the guy that's getting credit for this? Meanwhile, the guy that said, hey, who noticed the short squeeze, they're making him out to be like an iconic god. They got to be really careful about this, because as long as this Reddit group stays public, it's not illegal. If they make it a private group, it's suddenly a collusion thing and it becomes illegal. Market manipulation. It's not market manipulation if you do it in the open and buy billboards and fly sky banners on airplanes that says Robin Hood can beep, 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 and you fly it over their corporate headquarters in a circle. That's how mad these kids are about Robinhood. Robinhood is done. If you have money in Robinhood, get it out. If you have crypto in Robinhood, get it out. Get it. All the kids are moving. They're all leaving. So if you want to be the last guy out the door may not open for you. Just get it out. And I know that's going to cause a run on Robinhood, which is terrible, because, that means somebody's going to get stuck, whoever does decide to say, just don't want it to be my people. All right. So anyway, I wanted to make sure you guys had a heads up about that. Some of you probably are like, whatever, I don't understand any of this. I didn't understand it very much a few weeks ago either. And yeah, I thought maybe from an investing standpoint, this doesn't make sense to buy GameStop. And the company doesn't have a prospect for huge growth in the future. It's not like they make anything that's really amazing. They don't make an iPhone. They don't make an electric car. There's not a lot of reasons to own GameStop except for the short squeeze. If the short squeeze is successful, I could take my $300 share and make it into a $1,000 share. But the challenge is, to make the short squeeze successful, you can't sell. And the price is going to go up. Some people are saying their limit is $1,000 to sell. Some people are at $5,000. Some people are saying $10,000 is the price at which they would sell their GameStop shares. Wow. What were your gains last year in the market? I did 17% last year. I was up 17%. One trade. If all you did was buy one share of GameStop and you sold it for $10,000, you just outperformed every hedge fund in the world. Literally, especially that year. You outperformed every money market manager in the world. Everywhere. Now, granted, it's speculative and it's risky and it's frothy and it's FOMO and all the other buzzwords. So yeah, you shouldn't go cash out a second mortgage on your house to go buy GameStop. You really shouldn't. But I said, you know what? $300. I'll take a piece of my paycheck and I'll buy one share. Just in case something crazy happens with it. Just so I can be a part of this. This is because now if you're skin in the game, then it's like at least I can say no, I bought a share. I bought one share. I didn't go crazy. I could have bought 100 shares, but I bought one share. Monday I'll probably have a few more shares. Won't say how many, but I will have more because it's gonna go. It's gonna rocket ship. And so anyway, you heard it here, guys. All right, I gotta go. Time for birthday parties. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next weekend.